I'm having a bit of a moment, and I just want to show you guys something. That's me having a conversation with someone in China in Chinese. They said, hello, welcome, what are you drinking? Ooh, I don't know why I'm being so emotional. And then I said back, hello, thank you, I'm drinking ice water from an old jar. Listen, I know the technology to do this has been around for a while, but I'm not a sophisticated person. I'm not college educated. But this was not on my bingo card for 2025. This was not on my bingo card. Okay, hang on. Let me just fucking wipe my face. Just after so long feeling like I've wanted to exist in any other time than this, suddenly it's a wonderful time to be alive.
Dios mio, where do I even begin with this? So it all started with the desire to ban TikTok. And for those of you who don't know, TikTok is actually the largest app that Zoomers use in the United States of America. And so trying to ban it without actually having a conversation with the people that are using is not going to go very well, especially since they already tried that back in the day when TikTok wasn't this popular, and it didn't work. Now, back then, the allegation was that TikTok is harvesting information from its users, and it didn't go past the courts. Now, what I think may have happened is that oftentimes politicians who don't want to pass a legislation but want to be seen as if they're trying to pass it, they will write it in such a way that they know is not going to get past the courts. And so in the public eye, it's like, well, look, we tried our best. It just didn't work. And so it's been quite a couple of years since that happened, and now they're trying to ban it again. And so the Zoomers, and again, I'm describing what they are saying in various spaces, they're saying that the real reason isn't the data harvesting, because if it's data harvesting, you can just make some privacy laws, like you can actually pass some legislation that would force them, if they want to do business in America, to protect the data. And you would have the same legislation being applied to American companies as well that also harvest data. If we are to believe that data is so sacred and important, then surely enough, American companies should also be regulated. But that's not what's going on. And so a lot of Zoomers are thinking, and this is based on what they're saying, that it may have to do with the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. You see, in the last couple of months, there have been a lot of TikTok videos with people not being extremely supportive of America's greatest ally. And so if you're looking at the lobby that was pushing really hard for the TikTok ban, it is a lobby that, sometimes, as I mentioned before, the United States and its great ally is aligned politically. Once in a blue moon, it seems that America fails that alignment. And so it's up to the lobby to make sure that America is back on track. And it's this lobby that was pushing really hard for this ban to happen. And so a lot of Zoomers noticed this, and they decided to protest against the US government. They decided, okay, if you want to inflict good upon us, like if you know better what's good for us than we do, and you want to force the good upon us, then we're going to spite you. Like, we don't have a lot of power. We can't do anything to change your mind. But we can be cheeky little shits about it. We can do a little bit of trolling, like Donald Trump used to say. We can do a little bit of trolling. And so they ended up installing an app called Red Note. Now, if you're worried about TikTok stealing data, then you should be extremely worried about Red Note. Because Red Note is not a Chinese app made for the Westerner. Red Note is an actual app designed for the Chinese people. And it even requires your phone number and personal name in order to use. And in order to protest all the Zoomers giving the middle finger to the government, they said, yes, we're going to give our data willingly to horrify you. But again, they actually know that it's very unlikely that the government is actually concerned about their data. The concerns are of a different nature. Still, this protest seemed to be extremely successful. The app became the #1 app sold in the United States, with various influencers encouraging people to use the app. Now, whether or not this was astroturfed is up for debate, but surely enough, the people who make RedNote obviously want more people on the platform, so they have done advertisements, and I'm pretty sure that they also used influencers in order to try to convince more people to go there, because that's how business works. But something happened, something that was a little bit unexpected, both by the Americans and the Chinese. You see, due to the language barrier and due to the Great Firewall of China, American citizens and Chinese citizens rarely get to interact. And this was for the first time in the history of the internet where a huge group of Americans managed to interact for the first time with a group of Chinese people. And take into account that both governments, both from China and the United States, are suspicious of each other, and usually, like, both nations have propaganda that tries to demonize the other nation. And so everyone expected that the interactions are going to be a little bit hostile. But that wasn't the case. Let's look at some of these interactions. Here you have a gentleman saying, "Hello from America. Hello everyone, this is myself and my daughter, saying hello to all and look forward to all the new friends we make across the sea. Hashtag TikTok migrant." The answer that he got was a Chinese family responding, posting a picture of themselves, saying, "Hello, beautiful family, hello, happy Chinese New Year." This was interesting. A man by the name of Marco Ballarini, an Italian mayor, decided to make an account on the app. "Ciao, I'm the first Italian mayor here." The response he got from a Chinese person was, "Give me your cat photo," to which Mr. Marco Ballarini complied. Other interesting interactions is with Americans asking for help with their math homework and receiving answers from the Chinese netizens, as well as Chinese people asking Americans with their English homework, getting responses from the American TikTok refugees. So as it turns out, the threat of the TikTok ban has done more for China to improve its PR in the United States than any Chinese diplomat has managed to accomplish within the last couple of decades. A lot of Americans started to doubt a lot of the preconceived notions that they know about China. Here's an example. Wait, the social credit score thing isn't real. Not real and technically impossible to do because we got 1.4 billion people. Social credit, we don't have this at all, but Western countries believe that if my social credit is 0, then I will die. Another interesting misconception that was tackled was the idea that Chinese people eat dogs. Apparently, according to netizens from China, 99.9% of Chinese people do not partake into that activity. Another bizarre take is the fascination that Chinese women have towards American men. As you can see here, when a man posts his picture, usually he would get these types of reply from Chinese women. In fact, the thirst that some ladies seem to have on display is to the point where they don't even wait for a picture and just say, "Come here, I am rich," showing herself inside the car while looking lustfully towards the camera. When the genders are reversed, it seems that the interactions may be a little bit similar. This lady posted a picture of herself, to which a Chinese netizen responded with a picture of Tom looking upwards. He also apologizes for his behavior, which he knows is uncalled for. Other Chinese people are basically trying to side with him, saying that it's human nature to behave that way, while others are telling him to stop it. As you can see, others are saying, "Welcome foreign friends to learn about China and sincerely invite foreign friends to visit China." They're also showing pictures of Donald Trump, saying that the lady displaying her previous photo is great. Now, some Westerners are definitely going to be ideologically contaminated over this cultural exchange. You see, most Chinese people that use Red Note are wealthy urban elites. This is due to the fact that Red Note was advertised as a platform supporting commercialism. So, kind of the type of people that use it are the ones that are already open-minded and they look at the West as a great place. Think about how in the United States you would have an app where only Californians go, right? Like that's not an indicative of the United States as a whole. It's just like a typical type of behavior that you would find with white liberals in California. Well, these are the types of people that use Red Note. They're also like the elites of China that are more, well, as much as left-leaning as it's allowed to be in China, let's put it this way. And so when the Americans saw those beautiful cities and when they're seeing these expensive and luxurious cars, they may think that the entire China is like that. But in reality, America is still more wealthy than China, and most people living in America live better off. Obviously not as good as this lady right here, but the ideological contamination, as I mentioned before, is definitely real. Like this lady is saying, just downloaded the Little Red Book app, and this app is going to undo decades of US propaganda. I'm already jealous of their cars. This is what Joe Biden took from you. To be fair, it's difficult to argue that extensive bureaucracy, environmentalist policies, and basically declaring war on the diesel engine is probably not making affordable cars in the United States. So I would see why this lady is upset. It's like, my country can do this. In fact, my country can do this better. Why do we have laws preventing us from accomplishing this? Other difficult to swallow interactions are like this one. I have been a lawyer for 12 years and have never had enough money for investments. I've had to go to food banks within the past 2 years to survive. To which Chinese people are absolutely bewildered by the concept of a food bank. What is a food bank? Is it a place to buy cheap and affordable food? By the way, isn't the salary of lawyers relatively high in the United States? What is a food bank? Shouldn't lawyers be well paid jobs and respected? And so, again, the main problem here is that in order to be able to tackle this argument, you'd have to understand the economic system. And it is indeed baffling for Americans, especially when they saw Chinese people going into their grocery stores and seeing that the groceries there are more affordable in the United States, that they would start asking questions. The reason for this happening is that in the United States, you don't have a planned economy. And so anyone that gets into a student loan can actually become a lawyer by studying at the law school. And so law schools can produce millions of lawyers every year or so. And if the economy doesn't actually require millions of lawyers, like if you have more lawyers than you have lawsuits, then obviously some lawyers are going to starve. But you have the freedom to become a lawyer, right? In China, where you have a fixed economy, a planned economy, they also make sure that the number of seats available for lawyers is limited to what the economy needs. And so if you have a connection with the CCP, if you can pay some bribes, you can get in there. Or if you're like genuinely a person that's so brilliant, like your grades are so high, then you can become a lawyer. If not, like you got to choose another university. You got to specialize in a different field. And so the systems are different, right? Like in America, you can become something like, let's say you become a veterinarian, but the economy doesn't need more veterinarians. Like let's say it's filled up. But you can go to Canada. And you're still a veterinarian, but now you went to Canada. Or you can go in Europe and you can practice the trade there. So, like, there's advantages and disadvantages to both systems. But again, when you have, like, people that do not understand this, they're just upset. It's like, why is it that in my country, I can't practice law and I have to go to a food bank? And why is it that in China, these individuals are bewildered over this fact? So, again, this interaction between the United States and China is going very poorly when it comes to the US's soft power. Like, take into account that the people who went there are all Zoomers. And so you have now the young generation with the belief that their government is evil because they banned something they like, and that the Chinese government is actually better than the US government. Like, that is going to take a significant amount of life experience in years to undo the damage, if you even manage to do so. And so this is like a colossal failure for the US. And the reason for it is that they tried to ban something rather than convince people that they should stop using. They tried forcing good upon other people. And we have this expression in Romania, binele cu forța nu se face. You cannot force good upon other people. If you do so, this is the reaction, right? Like, the politician genuinely wanted TikTok to either be owned by an American or to ban it. But just because you sign a piece of paper and you're treating your citizens like children, doesn't actually mean that you're going to get the effect that you want. You wanted something and you got literally the opposite. And the reason politicians get to do this is because there's no consequences to their actions. No one is going to get fired over this. No one is going to lose prestige over this. Everyone is now foaming at the mouth, especially the neocons and the liberals. And they got themselves into a situation which is going to be very difficult to get themselves out of. And most of this is also due to the fact that they treat their citizens like morons. Like, instead of explaining the economic system, instead of explaining why America is great and making the arguments, they're making the arguments that America is a cisgender, heteronormative, racist patriarchy. You shouldn't use the Pledge of Allegiance because that's racist. It's Nazism. Nationalism bad. And so when your citizens actually meet a different type of people that are from a nationalistic country, they have no defense against that. They can't articulate the economic arguments. They can't understand why life is the way it is. And the reason it is the way it is because a lot of American politicians like to grift. And in order to grift, you gotta keep your population uneducated. But unfortunately, every now and then, if your population actually interacts with other populations, especially from a country that promotes nationalism and prestige and outlaws feminism, well, you guys saw the interactions, right? And so, if you guys like the video and you share it around, I will probably make another video showing what happened to the LGBT folk from TikTok when they decided to go on Red Note. Take into account that LGBT activism is not very legal in China, so they had some interesting reactions based on that. Let me know what you think, and again, if this video gets a lot of views, I will make the sequel. Take care.